you can do a little bit of a study yourself in terms of texting and language use, just to see how much your personal use of language use has changed as a result of texting and messaging. So just take a look at something that you would normally write in standard written language, and then take a look at what you text and see if you can notice patterns of changes and patterns of differences between the two. And different people have differing degrees of variation between their written language and how they text and message. I'm an example of someone who doesn't actually have a lot of difference between how I would normally write something in a letter or a document, for example, versus texting. And people make fun of me about this all the time because my texts don't use any of the short forms and things like that. I don't really take advantage of this short, fast type of communication by making my messages shorter and putting abbreviations in. And then on the other side, there are people who have a lot of variation between their standard written language and their texting language. In their texting language, they use all of the abbreviations available and really make their messages really, really short. So take a look at your own use of standard written language versus texting and messaging language and see how much variation you personally have between the two. There's one other fun thing you can do with this whole debate about texting and language use, and that is to imagine that you have to explain texting to someone who's never used it before. And I call this the grandparent's guide to texting exercise. So imagine you've got your grandparents there and you have to explain to them how to text and how to change the written language as they text. So think about what, is there any new vocabulary they need to know? What are the abbreviations they need to know? Are there any other rules of use that your grandparents would need to know in this grandparent's guide to texting? This will help you uncover some of the patterns that academics and researchers are finding in our use of language when we text. And this actually supports the hypothesis that with texting, we're actually just creating another variation on the language. We're not actually losing the standard language.